All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Civic Participation Part 1. So in our last lesson, we talked about political parties and how the two of them in our major two-party system came to be. We also talked about the differences between them and how they both have competing interests and how they have to compromise and come together in order to benefit the American people. Now that we talked about our two political parties and how they interact, we're going to zoom in a little closer on how political parties impact your life. So we have two parts of civic participation, and today is the first one. So before we start talking about how you participate in government, let's start talking about what a citizen is. We define citizenship in our civics class as someone who lives in a state and gives their consent to be governed by it. And we spoke about consent of the governed in terms of the social contract, Rousseau's social contract that says one half of the contract is that people say that they are going to be governed and they are okay with it and they are going to follow the law. And on the other side, the government agrees to provide them with order, security, public policy, and services as the four functions of government. So there are two ways to become a citizen. All right, and before we move any further forward, let's go ahead and remember what defines a citizen. Which amendment defines a citizen? I hope you remember because there's a question coming up. All right, now that we know that the 14th Amendment defines a citizen, there are two ways to become a U.S. citizen. The first one is if you are a native citizen, and the second one is called if you are naturalized. So if you're a native citizen, that means you are either, number one, born on U.S. soil, or number two, born to United States parents. So both of your parents were a citizen and have citizenship in the United States. So if you were born on U.S. soil, it's not just the continental United States as well as Alaska and Hawaii. Anything that is United States soil around the world, if you are born in that area, you are a United States citizen. So let's say, for example, both of your parents are in the United States military and they live and work on a military base in Germany. The second that you step foot inside of the military base in Germany, you are on United States soil. Now, you might be inside of the geographic borders of Germany. However, the second that you step foot inside of the United States military compound, you are on U.S. soil. The same thing can go for what's called an embassy. So, if the United States, let's say we want to have a good relationship with France. All right, we have a good relationship with France at the moment. So in France, we have what's called an embassy. So it's a building where someone who represents the United States and our government lives and works, and they represent the U.S. in all matters that France has to speak with us on. So instead of having to fly our president or some of our legislators around all the time, we have someone who lives there called an ambassador. Now, the second that you step foot onto an embassy, you are on U.S. soil. All right, so that qualifies as United States soil. So if you were born on U.S. soil, you're a native citizen, or if you were born to American parents. So let's say that your parents are on a cruise and your mom is 9 months pregnant and she gives birth to you on a cruise in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. You are a citizen of the United States because when you are born, your parents transfer their citizenship onto you. In addition to that, if you are born on U.S. soil, you are an American citizen regardless of your parents' citizenship. And that will come in handy when we start talking about immigration policy. All right, if you are naturalized, you have completed this process. You got what's called a visa or a green card. You've lived in the United States for 5 years. You've gone to an interview. You've studied for a citizenship test, one of which we have already taken in our class. You take the test and make an 80% or above in order to pass. 60 does not equate to passing on the American citizenship test. And then you take what's called the oath of allegiance. So you raise your right hand and you say, "I solemnly swear to protect the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic." And I agree to be a good citizen and uphold all of our laws and that kind of thing. So native and naturalized. However, there are other types of people who are here in the United States who might not necessarily be a U.S. citizen. The first of which is a legal alien. So this is someone who is not a U.S. citizen. They weren't born on U.S. soil and neither of their parents had American citizenship, but they are living here in the United States legally for either work or school. On the other side of that, what causes so much tension nowadays in terms of immigration are illegal aliens. All right, we don't mean aliens as in like E.T., all right, that's not what we mean. We mean aliens as in someone who is not a U.S. citizen and does not have permission from the United States government to live here. All right, another type of citizen is someone who is a refugee, right? That's someone who leaves their home country because of either war or other social issues, like your religion is being persecuted, there's a famine, there's drought, that kind of thing. So here recently we've accepted some Syrian refugees into our nation because the country of Syria is in the middle of a civil war and has been in civil war for many years, well, multiple years now. So they are trying to escape a civil war, so they come to the United States without express permission from the United States government, but they are allowed to stay because of what's called amnesty, and that's part of our checks and balances. All right, so what is the point of participating in government? Number one, you are upholding your social contract. You are giving your consent to be governed. You are giving your consent to be governed by whoever's name you bubble on your ballot. All right, and number two, the people have the power. So why in the world wouldn't you use power if you are given power from the government? And here's a video. These are people on a college campus.
Hello everyone, I'm Courtney Plunk with Polytech. We're here on our home campus at Texas Tech to see just how much our fellow students know about their country. Let's find out if we're politically challenged. Okay, what is your name and major?
Leon V. Hill in psychology.
Jonathan Barnes, and I'm a sports management major.
Allison Eden, and I'm a pre-nursing major.
I'm Mitchell Johnson, and my major is human sciences.
Ryan in clinical psychology.
I'm Marissa, and I'm a psychology major. Who won the Civil War?
Who won the Civil War?
We did? The South?
Like the one in 1965, or what Civil War?
Who won it?
Who was even in it?
Who was in it? Just tell me who was in it.
Ooh, I don't know. Why you let me do this? Who won the Civil War? Oh my God. Hey, I'm drawing a blank. It's one of those things. I feel like I'm on the Jimmy Kimmel show. America? I don't know.
That's the Confederates, right? I have no clue.
The Union. The North. Yes. Okay. Okay. So who is our vice president?
This video is a little old.
I don't know. I have no idea. Of right now? I don't know.
What's his name? Oh my gosh. I have his name in my, I have his face in my head.
Who is the vice president? Is that like a trick question?
Nope.
Okay. I don't know. I have no idea.
Don't know.
Joe Biden. Yes.
I don't know.
You're not the only one. A lot of people don't know.
Oh, I still feel
Okay, who did we gain our independence from?
These are horrible.
I have no idea. Do you know
Y'all,
what year?
these people are in college.
Absolutely
They have already graduated from high school.
I couldn't tell you.
So like 1677 or something like that.
And what show is Snooki on?
Jersey Shore.
What show is Snooki on?
The Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
And then who is Brad Pitt married to?
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie.
And who was he married to before that?
I think it was Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, so what we've learned from that, do not be that person who goes to a college campus who has already graduated from high school and has no idea about anything to do with their own United States history or the world that we live in. Okay, so some ways to participate in government so that you don't wind up like those people. So what do you have to do and what should you do? We talked about this in our blind Kahoot in our last lesson, but we have talked about duties versus responsibilities. So a duty is something that you have to do. That is the definition of something that is your duty. I have to go to lunch duty once a month. It is zero fun, but I have to do it. All right? Gentlemen, I'm so sorry for you, but you have to register for the draft. When you turn 18 years old, any male person living inside of the United States gets a letter in the mail with their name on it and has to register for the draft. The formal name for this is the selective service. All right, this is when you get called up to do military service. All right, you also have to do jury duty. All right, so if you get called and the court says we need you to be a juror, all right, Juror, a juror, you've got to go. All right, if you defer, so if you're like, sign me up for next time, I'll be your JV jury person. If you defer 3 times, after the 3rd time, unless you have a legitimate reason, as in you are somewhere laid up in the hospital and cannot physically move, all right, or you've got some kind of illness or some kind of extreme circumstance in your family, you must go to jury duty. You also have to go to school. If you're caught skipping school on a regular basis outside of school grounds, that is called truancy. All right, and there is a specific set of cops, typically in larger cities. I'm not sure that we have one here in Pitt County, but truancy cops roam around making sure that people who are under the age of 18 and who are school eligible are actually in school. You also have to follow the law, something that you have to do. If you don't, you're going to get in trouble. All right, you also have to pay taxes, or the IRS is going to come for your whole life, and they're going to get your whole life. All right, now a responsibility, on the other hand, is something that you should do. You should recycle. You know how I feel about recycling. We're trying to save the planet here. All right, you should run for office if you feel as though you are qualified and you feel as though you have something that you can provide for people, and your point of view and your perspective about what laws should be made are going to help people out. You should volunteer, spend your time doing something that is not for your own pleasure. Campaign if you want to. If you find somebody that you like I like Ike, which is a button for Ike Eisenhower, one of our former presidents. Picketing. Go protest something if you want to, but do it peacefully. All right? Lobby for something. Lobbying at its core is to bother. All right? So I lobby for you to recycle. I'm sure I nag a lot of you about recycling stuff instead of throwing it away, but I'm lobbying for something that I like. Another thing that you should do, but you don't necessarily have to by law, is to vote. All right, I know that we've talked about voting multiple times in this class already, and we're going to continue to do so until the end of this semester. But you should go vote. You don't have to, but you should, because our cartoon in our warm-up says don't vote, don't complain. All right, so if you want to be someone who is actively participating in your government, go vote. Get out there. All right, so what about voters? Let's see what some other people have to say about this. This is Federalist number 68. This is written in 1788 by Alexander Hamilton. He says it's desirable that the sense of the people should operate in the choice of the person to whom so important a trust was to be confided. This end will be answered by committing the right of making it, not to any pre-established body, but to men chosen by the people for the special purpose and at the particular conjuncture. This is all formal Founding Fathers speak for you should take your job seriously if you are chosen by the people to do something. If you are elected by the people, if you are voted by the people to do something, you should carry out that task. All right. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also has something to say about voting. He says, and so we shall have to do more than just register and more than vote. We shall have to create leaders who embody virtues we can respect, who have moral and ethical principles we can applaud with enthusiasm. Not only do we have to register to vote, which you can do when you go receive your license, the lady or the man at the DMV will ask you, would you like to register to vote? You need to say yes, in my personal opinion. Even if you don't want to vote, you need to register to vote. So when the time comes and you turn 18 before an election, you can walk up in the polling place, you can tell them what your address is, and you can get a ballot and put your voice out there, okay? You also not just have to register, you also have to go and vote, but you have to create leaders who so you know who you're voting on. You've got to create leaders so when we vote on people, you know that whoever is going to get in there, whether they agree with your perspective on politics or on government or not, whether they or not they agree with you, they're still going to do a good job. They're still going to listen to the people. All right, and that has been Civic Participation, Part 1.